I got an A star in 2 different maths A levels at almost 100%. Got an A star in A level maths, and I got an A star in A level further statistics. Nobody seems to know about it, however you cover the exact same content as you do in A level further maths statistics, but in a bit more depth. Either way, I know a thing or two about getting good grades in A-level maths. Apply this to A-level maths, apply this to A-level stats, apply this to A-level further maths. This is exactly how. These are the study strategies and exam hacks that you can use to get 100% in your own exams. These are the A-level maths tips and tricks that helped me get those A stars. This is exactly what you are going to do to get those grades as well. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new here and you have never seen my face before, my name is Tilly. I studied A-level maths, stats, economics, business, and I did an EPQ, and I came out of my A-levels with 5 A stars. I also post my top study tips and tricks on this channel every single day. So I'm currently studying economics at university. I'm in my final year, and I want to share exactly what I did when I was at sixth form in order to get those 5 A stars. So if you like this video and you find it helpful, please like and subscribe and support my channel. Really appreciate that so that I am able to keep making videos like this for you guys. Without further ado, let's get on to it. Let's get on to my A-level maths, further maths and stats tips and tricks. The first thing that you really need to understand is that A-level maths is very rarely about apply formula, get answer. That is not how this A-level works. And this might sound so counterintuitive because it's maths. There's literally a formula to get to the answer. However, they will present questions to you in different formats. The exam boards know that anybody can remember and regurgitate formulas. So they like to weave different topics in together to test whether you have actually understood what it is that you are doing and why. So let's take integration for an example. It's not hard to remember the formula for integration and quite simply apply it. You know, you can add limits to your integral. What does that do? You can evaluate an integral, but what are you actually doing? That's why they like to have you use integration to work out the area under curves, or they like to have you work out the area above or between two curves. You might see that and think, I can't do that with integration. You need to use your problem solving skills. You need to integrate both of the functions and then minus one from the other. That kind of thing. They love to mess people around with algebraic fractions and integration by parts. What method do you use? Why do you use it? And moving on from that, we're talking hypothesis testing in A-level statistics. Well, A-level maths and further maths statistics side, and then obviously statistics was my standalone A-level in itself. Why are you doing these things? Everyone can do a binomial hypothesis test, but what does it do? Why are you doing it? What is the point of it? What is a p-value? What is a null hypothesis? You thoroughly need to understand these things. It's not enough to just learn it in the class, bang it on a flashcard and remember it. You can't do that. Particularly in those problem-solving questions in the paper in maths, you really do need to understand the methods themselves and when and why to implement them. This is why radians catch so many people out in second year. They just kind of take this pi over 2 and run with it. What is a radian? Why are you using a radian? You genuinely need to understand that, and I highly recommend using YouTube to help with your understanding. There were things that I didn't get first time round. I remember when we were first doing logarithms, I genuinely just couldn't get my head around it, particularly the natural logarithms. First time I saw them, I didn't get them, and it was lockdown. And I remember sitting on my doorstep having forgotten my house key and watching a YouTube video on it. There are so many YouTubers for A-level maths because so many people take this subject. My personal favourite was TL Maths. However, there are so many different maths YouTubers. Search the topic you're struggling with and search A-level maths. That's all you need to do. There will be 5, 6, 7 videos on it. Use them to your advantage. Sometimes you just need a concept or a topic taught to you in a slightly different way to make it make sense. And understanding is the most critical part of A-level maths. Next up, the difference between getting an A and an A star is problem solving. You need to master the hardest topics, and like I was saying, you need to genuinely understand what it is that you are doing. I remember we had this horrible question in my actual A-level paper. It was some Ferris wheel, and you had to do something with trigonometry. And I did get it in the end, but I looked at it for a good minute and was just absolutely baffled. How do you make sure that you develop these problem-solving skills throughout the year? You need to practice, but not just doing mindless practice for the sake of doing maths. If you understand simple differentiation, which I'm sure you do not spend time practicing. You are naturally practicing these simple differentiation skills when you are modeling, when you are doing mechanics, when you are doing a variety of different topics. You don't need to work on those fundamentals if you have mastered them. You are naturally practicing these things throughout the course of the year anyway, thinking simple differentiation, simple integration. There are topics that you won't cover, like you probably won't go over differentiation from first principles like you do at the start of year 12. That's something that you should prioritize revising, but critically prioritize getting your head around it first thing. Start doing additional practice from the very start of sixth form. If you have been doing exercise book questions in the class and you didn't finish them, but you didn't need to, it's not homework, take it upon yourself to go and finish them. And look, this may be controversial, but if you are finding a topic really easy, stop wasting your time on the super simple questions like question 1 and question 2. Jump straight into question 5 or question 6, which is an application of this topic. The last questions in the exercise book, as in the practice questions they give you after a topic. Make sure you are doing the most difficult ones if you're going through them and thinking, oh, this is boring, this is easy. One of the mistakes that I see students make all of the time is just avoiding those difficult topics. Classic example, implicit differentiation. Classic example, integration by parts. Classic example, projectiles in A-level maths mechanics or A-level further mechanics. People hate working with logs. People hate those difficult year 13 topics. But you need to take a long, hard look at the specification, and you need to take a long, hard look at your mock exams and your practice papers and those practice questions that you've already done, the feedback that your teacher has given you. What topics do you struggle with? What do you not really understand? What topic did you just want to get out of the way and forget about? That's what you need to work on. And I'm not going to sugarcoat this. There are some horrible topics in A-level maths and A-level further maths. Classic example for me, mechanics. I hate mechanics. I will just plainly put it out there to say I do not enjoy studying it. And maybe it's because I was bad at it. Maybe it's because it didn't come naturally to me. Either way, this is probably what I spent the majority of my paper 3 revision doing. Bear in mind, I did stats as a standalone A-level, so A-level math statistics was kind of a walk in the park. I spent so much time revising projectiles and trajectories because I just couldn't really get my head around them. Pulleys, things like that. I knew I hated it. I knew I wasn't getting the marks, but that's what I needed to focus on. Now, revision. One of the best things that I did that helped me get these A stars was taking notes on processes, having flowcharts. When would you use integration by substitution? When would you use integration by parts? When would you use etc, etc? You can determine that through a flowchart. It's a process. How do you do, what is the product rule for differentiation? How do you do it? What are the steps to doing it? What are the steps to doing each one of these methods? Don't just say do this and show an example. Make sure you write out exactly what you're doing so that when you come back to revise from your notes, you can have a 2 or 3 or 4 step process in your mind. You can think, I need to do this, and then I need to do this, and then I need to do this, and this is how I'll get to the answer. And like I was saying earlier, you have to combine these processes. You can't just say, I know exactly how to integrate by substitution, or I know exactly how to do implicit differentiation. I know how to convert between degrees and radian, so I'm definitely going to get this answer. What if they give you a question that's in degrees and ask for the answer in radian? They can do it. What if they give you an algebraic fraction and ask you to integrate it? How on earth are you meant to do it? It doesn't fit into any of these flowchart criteria for substitution or by parts or anything like that. You need to use 2 steps. Dissect the question using algebraic fractions and then integrate it bit by bit. However, knowing the process for each method is incredibly important. So I like to have step-by-step notes. I made these in the class so that I could clarify every step of working and why I was doing it. And I'm not going to lie, I was that annoying kid in A-level maths. I would just put my hand up and ask why. I want to know why. I want to understand why. Because I knew that that was how I was going to get the marks in the exam itself. On revision, independent review is not negotiable if you're going to get an A star in this subject, because not only is there a lot of content, but it's very difficult as well, particularly when we get into second year topics and particularly second year further maths. I don't know about your sixth form, but the way my sixth form taught A-level maths was that they would do a term of pure and then they would do a term of stats and mechanics, and every lesson in a week would be pure, and then in the next term it would be all stats or all mechanics. Maybe your sixth form does it in a different way, but either way, when I was doing stats in the class, I would be revising pure on my own at home. Just circling back to something I said earlier about the fact that you shouldn't be wasting your time revising these super simple topics. There's no point in having a really strict, regimented revision routine from the very start of sixth form, because you will say, okay, in this random week in November, I'm going to revise basic differentiation. I don't know. I keep coming back to this example because you do it all of the time. You've probably moved on to a topic where you are using this tool every single day. So you do not need to revise it at home. You may, however, need to revise differentiation from first principles because you don't really come back to it very often. When you are doing mechanics, you may need to revise parametric and non-parametric equations because you don't use that topic all of the time, whereas there are mathematical tools that you develop in this A-level that you use time after time after time. Critically, you need to focus on what you struggle with the most. Those complex topics, but I've given you some examples, but you might find projectiles in A-level maths mechanics really easy. You might be a physics whiz, you might do A-level physics, you might find it super simple. I personally didn't. I found the stats part really easy, but I know that hypothesis testing is something that a lot of people struggle with. Either way, you need to revise them and you need to be doing practice paper questions over and over and over again. And there are specific question packs that you can get. You don't need to just sift through practice papers yourself to find these practice questions. Someone has made it online. There are questions in the textbook. The textbook is really good for A-level maths. There are worked solutions online. You can find practice paper questions on Physics and Maths Tutor, on Madass Maths. There are so many websites. You can just search the topic and then search A-level maths and you can just practice. There are so many resources. And also please remember that maths is maths. People will say to me all the time, like, oh, I've run out of logarithms questions for A-level, Edexcel, maths. Like, do them for AQA then. Maths is maths. If you're using log laws and practicing using them, you can use the AQA specific practice paper questions because you are doing the same thing. Specifications are very, very similar. They're not the exact same, so be careful. You don't want to learn things you don't need to. However, they are incredibly similar, and if you can do the maths from other examples is going to be really, really helpful. And identifying your weakest areas by going through the specification and red, amber, green checklisting the topics. What is it that you don't remember? What is it that you're sort of a bit shaky on? What is it that you're fine with? And then going from there and planning what it is that you want to revise. Remember that spaced repetition and revision and practice paper questions are the key to getting good grades in this A-level. Keep persevering when you are struggling on a question. Sit there and grapple with this concept and try and wrestle with it with it a bit before you just reach for the answers. Only when you really feel stuck and completely stuck should you go to the mark scheme. Try a few different things to see if they work, because at the end of the day, this is what you are going to need to do in the exam. If you like this video and you found it helpful, be sure to give it a like, and if you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments. I hope this video was helpful. If so, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.